You're listening to the Ideal Life Club podcast, episode 77.
Welcome to the Ideal Life Club podcast, where it's all about fast-tracking your ideal business and life with more clarity, courage, and consistency. Join your host, business coach, and author of The Happiness Habits Transformation, Michelle Reeves, for inspiration, interviews, and practical tips to finally claim success on your terms.
Hey there friends, Michelle here and welcome back to the Ideal Life Club podcast. So let's talk about sales. It's probably the number one challenge business owners face, particularly heart-centered business owners like us who break out in a hot sweat at the thought of sleazy sales tactics and tacky self-promotion. Am I right? But without sales, and importantly without solid profit, we don't have a viable business. So all the marketing in the world won't make a difference if we don't learn how to sell. And that's why I'm so excited that my guest today for this final episode in the current series is Annie P. Ruggles, founder of the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy, who is anti-hard sales, anti-tacky self-promotion, and instead guides business owners to grow their businesses through deeper connections and genuine, service-focused and friendlier, but still lucrative sales conversations. In our chat today, Annie shares so many great nuggets of wisdom, including why just being more visible is not enough and why sales avoidance is a chronic condition that will stunt your business, how the martyrdom of overserving without selling is teaching your customers not to buy from you and can lead you down the path to resentment, why not learning how to sell is driving your ideal clients straight to your competition who probably won't care as much as you do, why silence and pain are the missing pieces of the sales puzzle and the questions you need to ask after you speak your price, and the sales baggage that you need to let go of before you learn to sell without sleaze. I know that learning how to sell in my business was a game changer. I used to hate asking for money. I just wanted to help people. But really, you do need to learn how to sell. Otherwise, you don't have a business. And if you don't have a business, you're not able to help anyone. So grab your journal and get ready to burn out some crazy notes, friends. Enjoy. Hey guys, goodness me, sales. Let's just talk about sales for a moment and how scary that can be. Now today, I am super delighted because Annie P. Ruggles is on the show, founder of the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy, and we are going to go into all kinds of depths about sales. So Annie, so welcome to the show. I can't wait to hear everything you're going to share with us today.
I am thrilled to be here with you, Michelle.
So Annie, let's get started because your journey, I always start these episodes with a journey, and yours is really interesting because for the founder of a sales academy, particularly a non-sleazy sales academy, your background is really, really interesting. Tell us a little bit about your background, a bit about your father and his job, and kind of how you got to where you are today.
So, what's so funny about that is a lot of people ask me, like, if you had a time machine, would you go back in time and, like, what would you tell yourself? And I was like, I would not at any point in my life tell myself, my younger self, that I'm teaching sales because it would devastate me. That is how sales avoidant I was. That is how wrong my perception of what selling was, right? But what's hysterical is that if you look at my life in total, like from birth, me winding up here makes complete sense. My mom is a retired motivational speaker of great renown. My dad was a business strategist. My grandpa was a used car salesman. And my grandma was a writer. And they're the people that raised me, those four. So you're like, oh, okay, Annie winds up teaching sales. That makes sense. Her mom's a speaker, her dad's a strategist, her grandpa's in sales, her mom's like, all right, fine. But I never intended to do any of that because that was the family business and I didn't want anything to do with the family business. I didn't want to be a speaker. I thought it was amazing that my mom was a speaker. I had no desire to be a speaker, but I wanted to be an actress. right? So I was this I'm a very loud introvert. I'm extremely shy, but I'm loud, so it covers it well. And I always thought that I would be on a stage of a different variety. And so I dedicated my young life all the way through college in I dedicated it to theater. And I loved it. But what happened was nobody really tells theater kids when they're young and they just want to sing that there's going to be a lot of cutthroat competition and you have to have an incredibly thick skin. And the rejection fear that I had that would keep me from the idea of selling was not avoidable in theater, right? If you go in for an audition, there's 1,000 other people who look exactly like you. The likelihood of rejection is actually a lot higher than getting on a sales call and saying, "Do you want to join my program?" Right? And it was brutal and it started robbing my joy of it. And then right at that time, when I started to understand that in order to be a theater professional, it would require parts of me that I didn't really want to invest in building, and resilience that at that point I just did not have or perceived not to have, but also I was young. And I wanted to do something with all of my youthful exuberance and this new up and coming career called life coach was on the scene. And I was like, oh, that seems like a really fun career. Let's do that. Let's take my weird Muppet energy and inspire some stuffy people to have some freaking fun. Why not? Why not? And I was what, like 20 something? So, like, in those final formations of adult brain years, those crazy years. And I was like, yeah, I'll be a life coach. And people started hiring me. And I was like, this is frickin' amazing. I'm a life coach. Woohoo! And then what I realized, though, is that the people hiring me were not the people that I intended to serve. They were other new coaches who didn't understand why my business was profitable. And they wanted a profitable business too. And I thought, I guess I have some natural talent for marketing. I should follow this rabbit hole and see where it goes. And that's what I wound up doing for several years. I did marketing and selling, and no selling, marketing and branding for this new field of coaching. And along the way, I wound up serving a lot of other small businesses. I wound up taking this very strange 5-year, I guess, like reverse sabbatical, work batical into software, which helped me serve a different kind of small business. And I'm really, really grateful for that information because it taught me how the internet works. But I hated being in software. Went back out on my own, went back out into marketing and branding, was loving that. And then the bottom fell out. And I realized that part of the reason why my business wasn't growing, part of the reason why my clients' businesses who were paying me to help them market, they weren't getting to the point, and I wasn't getting to the point where we should have been for people working as hard and as dedicatedly as we were. And I realized that I had a chronic condition known as sales avoidance, that I would market and 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 market. But then when it came time to ask for money or receive that money, I would choke and I would take the entire transaction down with me. And not only was I doing that, I was fostering the overdependence on marketing in my clients who were following my example and also weren't selling. And I thought, okay, this change has got to start with me. I have got to figure out how good heart-centered people can compete, because the way that we are being taught to sell is not working. And so what we're doing instead is not selling, and not selling is going to kill your business. And that's how I got here.
I just love that journey so much, Annie. I love the bit that, well, I particularly love that you were a life coach in your 20s. Which, because it's just an interesting career to go into in your 20s. I'm not sure how many 20-year-olds would consider doing that, but good for you, my goodness. And you've definitely kind of walked the talk, in now having gone through, if you like, the whole spectrum of starting a business, kind of weaving through the whole creating the business and what are you offering, and he's my customer and let's market it, and oh, hang on a second, I'm not actually making the sales that I should be making. So I
Right.
can't think of anyone better qualified to talk to us about sales avoidance. And I'm almost 100% sure that whoever is listening to this right now, has either got this problem themselves or knows someone else who's got this problem. So let's try and solve it for people today. So what would you say is the difference between heart-centered business owners who have this kind of problem and everybody else?
Heart-centered business owners, first and foremost, they look at their businesses differently. They use words like mission. They use words like calling. They even use words like destiny, right? This is my God-given gift to go out there and help and to serve. Not everybody feels that way about their business. Even other solopreneurs, other small businesses don't necessarily feel that deep personal longing to serve in that way. But what happens in that is that we don't want to cheapen that God-given work, that God-given talent, that value, right? We don't want to cheapen that. We don't want to put a price tag on that. We don't want to ask for money on that. We don't want to turn somebody away because they can't pay us. And so we're just like, you know what? Sales isn't the right energy for me. I'm just going to stay super visible and valuable and shiny in hopes that people will behoove themselves to pay me. And it sounds ridiculous when I say it like that, but if you look at it in practice, if you're marketing and marketing and marketing and marketing and you haven't asked for money today, you're doing it too.
So true. And I love, and I very strongly believe in sales through service, and I know you do as well. But there is
Absolutely.
a fine line, isn't there? So let's talk about that. There's a fine line between serving people because that is how you choose to be visible, and how you stamp your authority, if you like, in your niche. There's a fine line between that and offering value and never asking for the sale.
Absolutely. I call that the martyrdom of over marketing. Because I think that, listen, content marketing and service-based marketing and giving the goods and giving people really solid, tangible things that they can latch onto, I freaking love that. Right? Like, let's not forget, in my story, I am not anti-marketing. I am not anti-branding. I did those things for years. Those were my bread and butter makers for years. They are important. Your marketing, your brand are worth investing in to get spot on right. But if you're not going to turn around and say, and the cost for all of this wonder is this, then what you're actually doing is taking all of the money that you spent on your beautiful brand and your beautiful marketing and flushing it right down the toilet. Right down it. Because if I market and market and market and market and market and put myself out there all the time, then what's going to happen is I am going to not have a sustainable business. I'm not going to be able to afford my marketing. I'm not going to be able to afford the advisors that I need. And so what I see, the reason I call it martyrdom of over marketing is because it actually might drive you out of business if you do not learn to include yourself in your own success. I do not understand in heart-centered people, including myself, why we have this idea that in order to serve, we must self-sacrifice. We are self-sacrificing in the form of our health care or whatever, if you're not living in a country that has central health care. Like here in the States, I'm paying for my own everything because I'm choosing not to work for a corporation. That is the sacrifice that's required of me. I'm doing it my own. I am sacrificing having a manager. I am sacrificing having someone else to make decisions sometimes. I am sacrificing time with my husband when he wants to hang out, but I still have, client reports to send. Those are the things I'm sacrificing. What I cannot be sacrificing, and all of that is boundary sacrifice, by the way. Boundaries are everything. But If I just gave and 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 gave, my clients would get where, and they couldn't even be clients. They're not paying me. My prospects, my community members, my super fans will be getting ahead and leaving me in the dust that I created with them. That's messed up.
Ooh, that's powerful.
It's messed up. Why do we do this to ourselves? And the thing is, I say things like, that's messed up, or that's stupid, or this or that. I'm not judging anyone who is in this position. It is brutal, and it is the most well-intentioned thing in the world, but it is not sustainable. And if it's not sustainable, you're putting a cap on the amount of people you can serve. You are shooting yourself in the foot. Don't do it.
So true. And also can, it can almost lead, I guess, to that place of resentment. You almost start to resent your business and your customers.
The very people that we say, I just want to help people like where I was then. I just want to reach out and make the road easier for someone. Yeah, okay. And then you do, and they get the results, and then they get the results and they go hire somebody that asked them, and you go, whoa, she's paying what to who?
Mm-hmm.
That's my money. Well, it's not your money, darling. You didn't ask for it.
Yes. And aren't we also doing our potential customers a disservice because we're not giving them the opportunity to go deeper than the free value that we're giving out?
Not only that, we're throwing them to the sharks.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it this way. If you know that you care more about your clients and your prospects than your competitors do, why aren't you selling to them? If you don't sell to them, they're going to go find someone who cares less about them and pay them more. Why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why? Why would you take these people that are precious to you and turn them over to the Walmart of coaching? Why?
It's a very, very powerful thing. And I know you're listening to this, guys, and you're going, oh, I need to do something about this because that is me. And you're kind of feeling that dread rising up from your toes. But don't worry, because Annie's here to help us with this. Before we continue with this episode, have you ever wondered what it might be like to have a podcast just like this one to promote your business? If you have, you might also have put it off because you're just not sure how to get started. If so, then the free trial of my online program, Practical Podcasting for Beginners, is for you. In fact, one of my students launched straight into the top 100 on iTunes in her niche and went from podcast newbie to podcast pro in a matter of weeks. There are step-by-step videos covering all aspects of creating and launching your podcast, plus access to me for help and support when you need it, even if technology isn't your BFF. What could a podcast do for your business? Find out now and start your free trial with no credit card required at michellereesecoaching.com/podcast free. Okay, back to today's show. So we know what self-avoidance is now. I've got a really good, clear picture of that in my head. How can we start to overcome that? Are there any steps that we can start?
Yes. Listen, there's strategic points and there's mindset points. And both of them have to happen. Neither of them is challenging, but they have to happen together. So listeners, what I'm going to ask you to do before you consider the strategic pieces, and I am a strategic sales trainer, but if you don't make the commitment to change the mindset first, the strategies I give you will fall flat. Okay, so what I'm going to ask people to do is commit to one idea and one idea alone, which is, right off the bat, you are not how you have been sold to. And selling is not how you have been sold to. Right? We have all of this sales baggage, the time that we were burned, the time that we were taken advantage of, the time that we were lied to. In addition to all of those times when bad selling has been thrust upon us, we also have limited sales experience of varying degrees everything from selling Girl Scout cookies door to door to, when I was 20, I worked in a bar basement and had to sell happy hour parties by doing the same script 900 times. We've all been forced to sell things that are not of us or for us. That's not selling either. When you are lucky enough, privileged enough, and crazy enough to be representing yourself, selling in that vein is a completely different animal than anything that you have experienced. And what I need people to realize is none of the nasty ways you've been sold to are required in selling. None of them. Not one. You don't have to call people during dinner. You don't have to cold call. You don't have to break people down to build them back up. You don't have to help them open credit cards when you know they can't afford you. You don't have to do any of that. That is other people's strategy. But you do still have to find your own ways. And then on the strategic piece, once you realize that your definition, your very definition of sales and your expectation of who you would have to become is incomplete and not necessarily relevant for you, then you can look at from start to finish. It really only takes two things. From start to finish, how can I make sure that I'm treating this person like a person and not a transaction? Because the majority of times when we're abused in selling, they treat you just like, the next client, the next client, the next client, on to the next. That's number one. It's a person, not a transaction. And the other thing is, promise yourself you won't ever sell anything that someone does not want or need. If you keep an eye on selling something to an actual person that they want or need, you will negate the arm twisting, the gimmicks, the pressure, the breakdown, the sleaziness of all forms, because what you're doing is you're trying to solve a problem with another person.
That's really powerful. And I think that mindset piece about our baggage with sales is really key. I know you mentioned selling. I remember back when I was at college, university here in the UK, I worked as a kitchen design seller, booker, if you like, on the phone. And I used to ring people up at dinner time, just as you said. I'm embarrassed to say this, but we had to pay for food.
Yes.
And I would say, have you had a kitchen designed before, madam? And all that stuff, and all those scripts and telephone numbers out of the phone book. We don't have those things anymore, but we did when I was young. And you'd have a page from the phone book, and you just had to go down one at a time. And oh my goodness, having the phone slammed down on you 50 times in one night, that's really going to turn you off to selling.
Yes, absolutely.
In fact, it took me a long time to get comfortable with finding a sales process that worked for me. And I think one of the things that I noticed, and the mindset piece again about selling, and maybe you can speak to this a bit, and it kind of all comes back to what you were saying before about, being a heart-centered business owner as well, is I found that when I first started out in coaching, the more I pushed, the more people backed away. And the more I opened and allowed a conversation, the more people came forward. Would you say that's true?
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Yeah. So
if you stand, I mean, first off, you said something very critical, which is that you had to find methods that worked for you. And those methods are out there, right? But when you find someone genuine, and we talk a lot about authenticity, we talk a lot about transparency, we talk a lot about vulnerability and all those things, but really what it boils down to is being genuine.
Yeah.
And if you can maintain a genuine connection with someone over the internet, you are a master. You are a wizard, Harry. That is the hard part, right? But if you stay in that space of that genuine energy, of that giving space, and you say, hey, I'm accessible to you, I'm available to you, sop up every single inch of my free stuff. Stay in my world for as long as you want to, but listen, if you're serious about this, this is how you and I, handheld, jump in the pool together. Are you interested in that? If you want more of this, if you want less of that, I am here. I am available. Reach out. And the more you shout that from the mountaintops, the more people will come because it's easy to talk about. I met this incredible woman. She's so bold. And this does not require extroversion. Okay. I'm a very loud introvert. So a lot of times one of the objections I get is like, well, Annie, I'm not as loud as you. No one is as loud as me. All of the elephants in Barnum and Bailey combined are not as loud as me. I'm a loud person. Loudness is not required. Emotional clarity, emotional honesty, emotional intelligence, and a willingness to be seen, that's what's required.
And isn't it interesting? You just talked about something there that resonated really strongly with me. You were saying, if you want more of this and less of this, then, let's have that conversation. And that really speaks to, I guess, positioning, how we position our businesses and who we're serving, and putting ourselves, making it really clear who we're out here to work with and who we're out here not to work with. Is that, is positioning something that we're bad at generally?
Absolutely. Horrible. You know why? Understandable. Understandably horrible. I'm going to write a book called Understandably Horrible, the Heart-Centered Approach to Sales, right? Because great, lovey-dovey, human, spongy, empathic, giving folks do not like talking about pain. We don't like talking about our own pain, but even more so, we can wrap our head around that. We don't like causing other people pain, and we assume that if we bring up their pain, it will hurt them, damage our relationship, and the gooey, gooey love bubble that we have created for ourselves with them on the internet. But the thing is, we buy solutions to problems. Try selling Tylenol without mentioning a headache. Why would I take this weird pill of chemicals? Why would I take 2 of them with a full glass of water? Why would I take this? Oh, well, you take it to mitigate this symptom and to make your headache go away. If I am selling Tylenol of coaching or consulting or healing, and I'm saying, oh, this will make you feel better. Make me feel better than what? Right? Give me, more of what and less of what. Don't tell me I'm going to be happier. Tell me I'm going to sleep better at night, because I'm up all night stressing, and that offsets my whole day. But you have to say, are you so tired of waking up already exhausted? That's a pain point. Yeah. It's not enough just to wake up happy. You got to wake up not exhausted. Right? And so part of that is we can talk about the pain from a very sympathetic, empathetic, compassionate place, a very real place, looking at their emotions and their situations with oodles and poodles of respect, right? You don't have to tap dance on the pain point, but you do have to mention it. Because people are coming to you, no matter what you do, to solve a problem. If you are a cupcake baker, you are solving someone's craving for sugar.
Yes. And we don't, you're right, we don't like to talk about the pain points, but I think it's almost more than that. I think it's that often, certainly with the clients that I work with, they don't know the pain points, because they haven't gone to that next level in terms of the creation of their products and services. And by that I mean, and it is quite an interesting one. I speak totally from experience here. I'm not preaching in any way here, because I know I've been in this space. We tend to create, or our first products or services that we tend to create when we start businesses are things that we create from our own heads. Yep. So we say, I'm going to create a service. it would be great to create a service like this, or, I'm going to create this product because I think it will be amazing. And then we struggle to identify what that is a solution to, because we've kind of come at it from the wrong way round. So instead of finding out what people need and making it, we kind of put something out there and then hope people will need it, which is kind of the wrong way around. And I'm guessing from a sales point of view, that's going to make it so much harder to sell, right?
Oh, heck yes. Because you're selling something pretty and shiny in a world of pretty and shiny on the surface. But underneath what makes us crave the pretty and shiny is the pain. And also, if you're in a position where, I teach sales. People come to me, not necessarily when their business is in active pain, but they are feeling a pain point. They want to grow their business, or they have a very specific pain on a sales call, or shame on their website, or they've adopted a whole bunch of horrible things from their last sales teacher that feel really brutal, and they feel like it's, tainting who they are. That's freaking pain. If I just said, hey, Michelle, do you want to make more money this year? Well, you should learn to sell. Okay, tell me more about that. Well, how long can I talk to you about that before I have to talk about something real? Before I have to talk about the fact that sales avoidance could kill your business. Before I have to talk about the fact that we've all been sold too badly. All of those things are pain. I have talked a lot about pain in this episode already. Does anyone feel attacked by that? No. But if I don't talk about the pain, I'm just going to look clueless. I'm going to look totally pie in the sky, clueless. But if I could talk about the pain in a very realistic, authentic way, and if I could say, look, I'm solving this problem because this derailed me in the following ways. Do you relate? Is it the same for you? Already we're encouraging people to come to the table with their own vulnerability about their problems. But if we just go, my life is perfect, come be like me, woohoo! That's gonna easily get people with a ton of expendable income who want an easy button. You're not gonna get the people who really need the support.
And I think it turns people off too, people, because it's harder to resonate with someone who doesn't appear like three-dimensional.
Yes.
I think we have a natural kind of built-in caution when things look too good to be true.
Absolutely. And I think, if anything, we're recording this in early 2021. I know that this will come out in a couple of months, but we're still not that far removed from 2020 when everything had to change. And we've seen very well in 2020, everyone can come up with an example of a brand, a company, or a provider that never really took the pandemic seriously and really just acted like business was normal and usual and nothing was different. And you know what happened? Across the board, everyone I talked to, it detached that company, that brand, from reality. And what I'm not saying is every single thing you do has to address every single thing on the table. If I had that happen, I mean, I'm obviously, with this nasality of mine, I'm hardcore American. And as a hardcore American who just got through 2020, we got through the worst period of racial injustice and violence in history. We got through the most polarizing presidency of history. It was a terrible time for women. It was a terrible time for queer people. Then we had a pandemic. If I was just standing on the mountain going, la, 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 sales, 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 money, 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 that wouldn't work. But also, I don't want to be the doomsday preacher, like, everything is terrible, come to me for refuge, because that's abusive. Right? But what I could say is, selling this year for a variety of reasons, seems to be 100% more challenging than ever before. And we certainly know that people's money is tighter and there's a lot more fear and anxiety in the world. So how are we going to sell in that climate? Do you see how I brought that up?
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't ignore it. I didn't tap dance on it. I didn't, poke it with a stick. But I also didn't just go, 2020's over. Woo! We're in the clear.
And it has been such a tricky time for people. And I think it almost makes people feel quite desperate about sales. And that desperation can come across, can't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the main places I see that desperation is in sales calls. Sales calls specifically are kind of a fun amusement park of anxiety for a lot of people. Sarcasm, emphasis on the word fun. But what happens is one of the main areas where we let that anxiety really run rampant is around that area of price, because money is a sensitive topic, right? But what I would hear when I listened to hundreds and hundreds of sales calls, which was a lot. But when I listened to that, one of the main things I would see is that insecurity would come rushing in right after a price was mentioned. So, and you know what? It doesn't really matter that much if the price is $25 or $25,000. It's equally uncomfortable for people that are weird about money or weird about charging or weird about receiving. There's a million different things. I'm not a money mindset person. I'm sure that they could speak to that with more eloquence. But when they would say the price, whatever the price would be, the number one mistake I would see on these calls is they would do this. They would go, okay, and the price for that is $2,500. But you know what, Michelle? We're friends, and I'm on your podcast, so you're kind of an affiliate. If somebody buys, and so I could only assume that somebody will hire me after they hear this episode, and also you're so nice, and you're in the UK, and I don't know which way the exchange rate goes. So is that good for you? Okay, you know what? I shouldn't have even offered to you in money, or in dollars. I should have offered it to you in pounds or euros. I'm so sorry. You know what? Because of that inconvenience, I'm going to take 20% off, and I'm going to convert it into this, and I'm going to come up with a special UK rate. And okay. Is that better? No, that's not better. That's 1,000 times worse. Because we don't know what that person was thinking, and they don't know what they're thinking now because you just talked over their thinking time.
Leaving space for thinking. How hard is that for new sellers, though?
It's hard for everybody. It's hard for everybody. In that, that's one of the things, I keep saying this on show after show, but I think that, one of the great ironies of my life at this phase is that someone as loud as me is really teaching people how to shut up. Because you gotta
say anything.
Shut up, right? So I was like, here's my solution on how to ask for price. And I want to encourage all of your listeners to try this. Okay? It's a 3-part system. The first thing is you just say the dang price. The second thing is you ask a question that puts it into their brain. One of my favorite questions is, how does that land on you? That is by no means the only option, but it has to include the word you. Is that what you were thinking? Does that make sense to you? Right? Whatever that is. You ask a question with the word you. That's phase 2. Phase 3 is shut up. Turn your microphone off. Turn your camera off. Bite your tongue. I don't care. Don't make yourself bleed. That's not what it's about. But do whatever you have to do to hush. So it goes like this. The price for that is $2,500. Is that about what you were expecting to pay when we hopped on the call today?
Oh, I'm loving that silence. And it's still there. And I feel like I have to fill it, which is what the customer will do, right?
Which is what the customer will do, which is great. You feel like you should fill it, but it also, I just told you, you have a yes or no option. I didn't even say, are you ready to sign up? Which is an assumptive close, which in a lot of ways is actually very empowering. I didn't even do that. I just said, is that about what you were expecting to pay to solve this problem?
Mm-hmm.
So then they
And
can
what
go,
do you do?
yes or
What do you do
no.
if you get a no to that? Like, I know a lot of people will get an, will have people say no on a call. How do we cope gracefully with a no response without freaking out, dumping the call, deciding we're never going to work in business again?
Well, there are many no's that lead to an actual final no, right? So if I ask you, is that about what you were going to expect to pay when you got on this call today, and they say no, well, then I just follow my curiosity. Okay, well, what were you hoping to spend on this problem? Are you at a point where it's right for you to invest? If the price point is the problem, I can offer you other things at varying price points if I have those things, right? But if I slam the door on the first no, then I burn that bridge and I basically just walk away. Because, and here's the other thing. I'm not saying, we've all had the experience with the telemarketer where we go, I'm not interested. And they go, but have you considered? And you go, I'm not interested. And they go, okay, but hold on. But have you considered? But no, I just said no like 500 times. That's in no way what I'm encouraging, right? But is that what you were expecting to pay? No, is not a final no. Does it work for you to start next Tuesday? No, is not a final no. Are you feeling comfortable enough to make this decision right now? No, is not a final no. But a lot of people will take those as a final no. And because they don't want to be aggressive, which is never required, proactive, yes, aggressive, no. They're like, cool, I'm going to cut my losses. I'm going to stop getting rejected while it's already happening, and I'm just going to move on to the next thing. But the thing is, if you burn that bridge by throwing a little fit for yourself, or, well, I thought you really wanted this. Thanks for wasting my time energy. Or any of the things that sleazy salespeople will take, which is normally like, Michelle, you're drinking an expensive coffee. Why are you being so cheap if you spend so much money on coffee? What? No, that's not what we're talking about. But at the same point, we can go, okay, well, hold on. I offer payment plans. Would that make things better? Right? Even so, you might get a not now or a maybe based on objections. You might get it based on timeline. You might get it based on price. I've had people say, Annie, I would love to hire you right now, but it's not going to work. And I say, you know what? Cool. Here's some homework. Do your homework from me, specifically based on the problem that you want. That should move the needle for you. And when things change, I hope you'll remember where that advice came from and that you'll come back. And not only has that brought people back to me, it's brought people that never had any intention of hiring me, that led them to refer me to other people. That's not going to happen if when I get a no, I just take it or I fight it.
Yeah.
That goes back to what I said at the very beginning. This is a person.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's really interesting because that the idea of that you're working with a person, a human being, I think that was really powerful for me when I realized that I would not I don't take a yes either quite often. And I know this is going to sound counterintuitive, but if I'm on a discovery call or a sales call or whatever you want to call it with a potential client, and they they're a heck yes to working with me, I often ask them to have a cooling off period, because I also have been in a situation where, and this is not good for anybody, where someone is a hell yes on a call because for whatever reason it has, it's rung all their bells on that day. And then, 24 hours later, they feel it's not a good situation, or we even start working together and it's not right. And that doesn't work for anyone. And so it's interesting. It wouldn't work for everybody, but I often give people a cooling off period, and it's amazing how quickly people come back when I offer that cooling off period. And I will get people messaging me within the hour saying, okay, I've had enough cooling off. Let's go.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Now you just said that is a risky strategy that works for you. And I love that it works for you. I think I could make it work for me. What I do instead is I offer a conditional guarantee. And what that means is I am so positive that my work is extremely effective for the right people that if it turns out not to be a good fit for you, you and I could talk about it. And if it's really not a good fit for you, to your point where it's like, nah, this isn't right, then I'll refund them. But they have to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh,
so if you buy into my program and you are in it for 6 months and you never show up on any calls and you never have gotten into the modules and blah, 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 and you come to me and you say, I want my money back. I'm not going to give you your money back. You haven't done anything. Why would I refund you when you haven't even taken the damn program? Right? But if someone's in it and goes, you know what, I thought this was over here, but it's really over there, and I thought I was ready for this, but it's actually too advanced for me. Okay, something like that, that's logical. Right? They know that there's risk aversion there. They know that they can have an exit ramp if they need it. Right?
Yeah.
But at the same point, I'm not turning away the yes necessarily. If somebody calls me right now, they're like, I want to hire you right now. I mean, this just happened on Instagram. I had a woman go, I want to hire you. And I said, I want to work for you. Probably. Right? She's like, I want to hire you. It was all about it. And I was like, cool. Probably. Right? Because even so, that's my like, hold on, let's make sure that we have a fit. But your example and my example, giving them time to wait or offering the conditional guarantee or whatever, is saying you as buyer are in charge here. I want you to make an informed and empowered decision.
Yeah. It's
That's
about
it.
respect, isn't it?
It's about respect and it's about being thorough. And it's also really a confidence issue in that you're like, you know what? I know what I offer is good. I know that I could help this person. I've articulated both of those facts to the best of my ability. And now I'm going to tell them how much it costs and I'm going to shut my mouth. That takes confidence and bravery.
And practice, I'm guessing too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So let's talk about that practice. So, you know, if we want to learn to love sales, tell us all about the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy. Tell us kind of what's involved, what we'll learn, because I'm loving everything so far. It sounds like, you know, a really respectful, authentic, and as you say, heart-centered way to sell, which feels much better than, okay, you only have 30 seconds to buy this or you're going to lose the bonus. And by the way, I'm going to be emailing you every half an hour for the next 7 days.
Don't lose the bonus. Don't lose the bonus. Don't lose the bonus. Don't lose the bonus. I hate that. I hate that. Now here's my version on that, which is so goofy but so true, because you asked about how I run things. Urgency and scarcity and other gimmicks are effective when done beautifully, but are overused, right? And so what I rely on in my own stuff is gamification. Every single month, I run a live workshop. And at the end of that live workshop, before I even go into the pitch, because then people just like to see it, whatever, I have a prize wheel. And on my prize wheel, I have my fast action bonuses. And I ask people ahead of the call what they want to go on the prize wheel. And the prize wheel could be a 90-minute session with me, an hour of copywriting from me. It could be an additional workshop. It's never a discount. I'm intentionally low ticket. I do not preach the gospel of discounting in 99 cases out of 100. But I spin that bonus wheel, that prize wheel, and it makes that satisfying click, click, click sound, and it lands on something. And I say, listen, I want to make this even better for you if you are wanting to jump into selling right now. If you want to jump into selling right now, then sign up for the program, which is evergreen, meaning it always runs. But if you sign up in the next 72 hours, I'm going to give you this thing that came up off of the prize wheel. And people are like, oh my God, I have to have the 15-minute whatever, right? I have to have the sales page audit. But they know that if they decide that it's not right for them, they can come and buy the program next Tuesday because I tell them that, right? But I sell one program, which is called Sales for Empaths, which helps coaches, healers, and other what I call ask avoidant do-gooders to get out there and command sales in a way that is in keeping with their ethics and integrity, because that is my whole thing. And I think I'm probably broken recording on this episode alone, that how you've been sold to is not the only way to sell. And the way that salespeople have made you feel is the exact opposite of how you can make other people feel when you're showing up and including yourself in your success. That's what win-win selling is really about.
Oh, I love everything about that. And I know, guys, I know you listening to this, you're going to be like, oh, I never knew sales could be that way. Because I know from the conversations that we have in the Ideal Life Club Facebook group, and, you know, I know from speaking to clients that selling is the thing that really rocks people's boat. And it is such a stumbling block. And I think a lot of people feel that, you know, they kind of want to come out of business because of what they see as being, you know, the way, or the industry, as it were, way to sell. And, you know, we have to remember that the people that are going out there and doing the proponents, if you like, of that selling, that's their way of selling. And it doesn't have to be your way of selling, which is exactly what you're saying. And I love that, Annie. So how can people find out more about you? How can they find out more about sales for empaths? And where can we find you on social media? Because I know everyone's going to want to connect with you.
Oh, I can't wait. Bring it on. So, you know what? Couple of things. My website is my little online circus. It's AnniePRuggles.com. And on that website, you will find my free masterclass called Making Selling Easy Without Getting Sleazy. You can find a quiz called Hey Empath, Is Your Special Gift Killing Your Business? Spoiler, it's not. The thing that's killing your business is sales avoidance. I'm just going to lay that out right there. You can watch a bunch of videos. You can find episodes of my podcast, Too Legitimate to Quit, and other shows like this one that I've done interviews on. But more than that, as much as I would love for you to take the masterclass or listen to my podcast, because I make sure that they're chock full of value, if you are stuck and you need a reframe, or if you need an action item, you do not need to go through my funnel to get to me. Reach out to me on a social media system that has chat. And the best ones that I've found so far for that are Instagram direct messages. And on Instagram, I'm at Anniepreneur, ANNIEPRENEUR, or at LinkedIn, where I'm under Annie P. Ruggles. If you look me up, I'm easy to find. Both of those platforms allow you to message me directly. You go right to my desk, or right to my purse, or right to my pocket. I cannot promise I can get back to you immediately. If you call me 10 minutes before a sales call, I probably won't be there. But if you know you have a big launch coming up, or you know something isn't quite right, reach out to me first. It doesn't cost anything to send me a message. And operators are standing by, and by operators, I mean me.
I love that. Annie, it has been such a pleasure chatting to you today. I could chat to you for hours about this, literally. But I know that everyone's going to kind of jump over. And your website, I've told you this before the call, your website is beautiful. Guys, go check it out. It is a real lesson in how to design a beautiful website that is fun to be on. Yeah. And
Thank you. I designed it myself. So that's
you did
lovely.
Good for you. Good for you,
you.
Because it is a fun place to be. I love the way you described it as a circus. It really is fun. And there's a lot of very boring websites out there. So let's make it fun if we send people to our sites. I'm picking up tips. So thanks so much again. And as I always say, guys, all the notes, all the links from this episode and every other episode will be on the show notes page at michellereevescoaching.com/listen. So all it leaves me to say is thank you so much, Annie. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for sharing me with your listeners. Every listener is precious, and it's an honor to be here.
So there you have it, my interview with Annie P. Ruggles. Wow, what a way to finish the series, friends. I really hope you enjoyed this one as much as I did. As always, you'll find all the links and details of today's show, how to connect with Annie, and all the other shows in this series at michellereevescoaching.com/listen. And hey, if you did like this episode, would you do me a favor? Would you head over to iTunes and leave me a comment and a review? It really does mean that more amazing people will be able to find the show. Okay, that's it from me today and for this season. Thank you so much for tuning in over the past 77 episodes. I know your time is valuable. I really appreciate you taking the time to join me and also for all of your messages and comments about the show. Remember, you can always reach me at my website, michellereevescoaching.com. I'll be back in the autumn with a new series, but in the meantime, until next time, be positive, be powerful, be productive, stay safe, and keep fast-tracking your ideal business and life. Bye for now.